Well, hello there, and welcome to Dream Big Solutions podcast. My name is Richard Hodel, and I'll be your host for the next approximate hour or so, unless, of course, you get tired of listening to me and drop off in 2 minutes. Then it'll be a very short show for you, but for everybody else, it'll be about an hour long. And on our fantastic, lovely show today, we have, as usual, a fantastic and lovely guest to go with that. And I guess there's a lot of things we're going to talk about today, and I just want to kind of give you a bit of a gist of sort of where we're headed today. We're going to be delving into gold medals. And what does that actually mean to you? As soon as I say gold medal, a lot of people get an image in their head of, this shiny metal thing. But what does it actually mean to you to actually have a gold medal type performance, where you really get out there and you just hit it out of the ballpark? You attain a peak that you've never done before, and really no one else in the world can do it just like you're doing it at that very moment. You are on top of the world. What is it like to actually have that sort of ability and experience to create a gold medal performance? And that's a part of what we're going to be talking today, because our guest today is, oddly enough, a Olympic gold medalist. Her name is Michelle Cameron Coulter, and she'll be joining us here briefly. But let me tell you a little bit about her first. As I mentioned, she is an Olympic gold medalist, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a wife and mother of 4, which I think personally deserves a gold medal just for that in itself. Michelle is a born and raised Calgarian, which is in Alberta for those folks that aren't native to this neck of the woods, who grew up in a blended family of 10 children. So I guess probably her mother should get the gold medal. Maybe Michelle will get the silver medal in that department there. So she, of course, in that atmosphere, she learned about teamwork. And of course, I hope you learn about teamwork with 10 of you around. Otherwise, you're sort of the odd duck out. But of course, you need to really be resourceful, and that's exactly what she was. And she managed to always find a way very early on. Overcoming being a very sickly child and her extreme fear of the water, Michelle realized an incredible dream and competed in the 1988 Seoul Olympics, winning an Olympic gold medal in synchronized swimming, which is impressive. I can't even swim at all. So Michelle is a 6-time world champion and was inducted into Alberta and Canada's Sports Hall of Fame, the Canadian Olympic Hall of Fame, and International Aquatic Sports Hall of Fame. Michelle was also awarded the prestigious Order of Canada. She's, of course, very active in her community and has helped raise awareness and millions of dollars for both charity and business, including just under $50 million in 2008 when she was the co-chair of the Calgary United Way campaign, which, of course, is in the middle of a global financial crisis, 2008. Michelle even started a foundation initiated by her children called A Gift of Love. And it's based on their belief that if we just share what we have, there should be no one without. She has been on the board of directors for many other companies and organizations, including Rogers Broadcasting, Canadian Coaching Association, Upstart Council, of Champions, Special Olympics, Parks Foundation, Olympians, Canada alumni, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Michelle's company, Inspiring Possibilities, mission is to inspire all to embrace their full potential. And she speaks openly and honestly, which of course we'll find out in about 32 seconds, about overcoming challenges, digging deep, and sharing tangible success tools. She has been sharing her message and inspiring companies and organizations around the world to jump in and play big. Through leading, inspiring, and empowering workshop, retreats, and keynotes for over 20 years. And at that, we'll let you actually talk to Michelle. One of the big things, of course, is that, Michelle has been married for 24 years to fellow Olympian and volleyball player, Al Coulter, and is most proud of being the mother of 4 very active, wonderful children. And Michelle is releasing, on top of that, her book early next year, Sink, Swim, or Float, Courage to Jump In and Make Your Splash in Life. And with all that going on, she still has time to come here and talk to us. So I'd like to welcome Michelle to the show here today. So there you are. Here you go.
Hey, how you doing, Richard, and all of you? Nice to be here.
Glad to have you on board. It's that's a really long list of stuff that you've been doing since 1988, right? Kicking off with your, Olympic gold medal. There's a whole sequence of stuff that really just explodes once you sort of hit that pinnacle. What is it like to sort of be there right in that moment? Can you sort of give us a picture of what your sort of life looks like when you sort of hit that gold medal moment?
Well, first of all, if I rewind just a little bit and share a little bit about getting there, because as a kid, you'd think I'd be the least likely to have attained something like that. Like you shared, I grew up in a blended family of 10 kids, and my mom always said the earth is 2/3 water. You're going to come into contact with it one of these days. You have to learn how to swim. It was a life skill. And I actually was so afraid of the water, I failed my first level of swimming 4 times. So, last time I ended up getting stitches under my chin because I wouldn't jump into the deep end. I hit it on the side of the pool, and I thought, okay, well, this is not working. So I look at, I'm so grateful to my parents. We're never pushy with us in sport at all, but it was seriously a life skill. My mom witnessed one of her cousins drown when she was young, and so it was a safety thing. We weren't allowed to go in the boat or in the water. So by the time I actually passed that first level of swimming and then began to love the water, I don't know why they call it the dead man's float, because when I hit my chin, I actually relaxed and floated up to the surface and then kind of went, hey, it's not so bad in here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when I share the whole philosophy behind my book, Sink, Swim, or Float. But when you say, what was it like to be there? Because as a child, I would have never guessed that, and I talk about, the earth being 2/3 water. If we look at the world in that way, what 2/3 are we missing because of any fears that are holding us back? And we don't even know what we're capable of until we get put into a situation. So, being able to share a bit of my journey and the ups and the downs and the challenges that I went through. First of all, starting super late. I was 13 when I started synchro, and everybody's like, oh, that's way too old. And
13's too old.
I know, but most of the girls have been swimming 5-6 years already. But you could look at it as that's too old, or I looked at it as I had all these amazing mentors and role models that I learned from, and I go, well, like, how do they do that? I want to be able to do that, and it's not like I didn't have fears or things that I had to overcome daily, or things that I had to give up in order to get there. But I look at that, and that's what helped me, gain all the strengths that I did, was just feeling like I was improving that little bit every day, and on that climb to get to, to the pinnacle of one's career in that arena. But I think, a loaded question, what did it feel like? It was like the epitome of looking at all those years and the growth and the training and the person that I became in that process. Like, to me, the gold medal is like magic. It is about possibilities to me. That's why the name of my company, Inspiring Possibilities, that we all have that gold medal potential, multiple gold medals potential within us. And not until we kind of step out into those fears and get out of our comfort zone and start to achieve these little results do we then accumulate that into much bigger results than we ever would have thought. So yeah, pretty amazing. And it's now become, for me, it's really a platform of sharing passionately about knowing that we have so much more that we're capable of. And I have the opportunity to do that every day, to share that and help inspire others to step in and make their splash, enjoy that process, and reach heights that they never thought they could.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is when I stand on the podium, and when we stand on the podium of life, like we never get there on our own. It's like we have this, like there's no way I would have made it there without the support team. We had one of the most amazing coaches in the world, and she was the best in the world because she knew she didn't know everything. She brought in experts in different arenas, like the first sports psychologist, the first exercise physiologist. Think about this. This is 25 years ago, understanding that when you get to that part of the game, 90% of it really is in our minds of we think we can or can't. We can train as hard as we can, and then it's like letting go and just trusting and knowing that we have what it takes. So to me, standing on that podium was every emotion all at once of possibility, reality, that all of a sudden it's here. And I said it was a good thing the medal weighed as much as it did, because I would have probably floated away. Because, you know, if there's ever a chance to hear the whole journey of the ups and downs to get there, and then all of a sudden that moment is there. And so I loved what you said at the beginning, Richard, about, you know, how many of you, you know, have had that gold medal feeling moment. Well, we have those moments. We get to have those moments if we choose to, or are aware of those. There's more than one gold medal we can have, but that's the epitome of what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, and to me, that's sort of, you know, I look at that, and especially when you have something, you know, and that was, like you said, 25 plus years ago now that you won that gold medal. You know, I always, I guess, have that fear of, well, I've peaked. That's it. My life is over at this point. You know, and there are some gold medalists that do that. Like, you can go back and you can look at, you know, the history of, you know, people that have won the gold medal. And for some, that is their peak, and that's it, and their life goes downhill from there. But yours really doesn't. It just soars and really seems to keep going.
Well, and don't, you know, get me wrong, because I went through challenges post to figuring out, you know, when you've identified with one thing for so long and just, you know, focused only on that, then who are you after that? And the fact is, we go through many transitions in our life, and it's finding the next thing, or whatever it is, that you can take what you've learned from that and apply it to something else. Like the average person, do you know how many careers an average, or jobs an average person has?
It's something supposed to be like 7 or something now these days.
Yeah, I was in a room with about 100 people, and they did a survey, people with above 7, above 15.
Well, that's doing pretty good.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, when you find the things that, you know, give you goosebumps and make you tick, and then if you can use what you've learned from that achievement as kind of foundation or proof of, wow, if I can do that, I can do this. And then it sometimes is challenging to transition. And for sure, there's a lot of, you know, athletes, or, you know, with the economy now, people have achieved certain levels in their businesses, and all of a sudden things are changing, and, you know, the landscape changes, and how do you move forward from there and take what you've learned and create something new, and use those skills that you've acquired.
Yeah, because you could be doing, you know, the same job for 20 or 30 years and then get laid off, and suddenly you have to figure out, well, what now? And that's definitely something we deal with a lot when we're dealing with entrepreneurs. Is a lot of people, you know, well, they come out here to the coast where we are to, you know, especially in Canada, to retire, right? Some of them have been laid off early, and they've taken those retirement packages, and they get out here and they go, okay, well, this is fun. So the first couple of years they travel around looking at the place, and then after that, it's like, now what?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do with the rest of my life?
And you know what? That's really huge, because I think I don't like the word retired. I think it's like a swear word. I think it's like next chapter, because even at the Olympics, Carolyn and I knew, my duet partner and I knew that was our last competition, and neither of us said that we were retiring after, because we didn't want to be done before we were done. But it's like, you know, it's next chapter. And I think that's why you brought up a really good point. Like, when people retire and then they don't have purpose, then it's kind of, is this everything? How many people at that phase get to, is this what it's all about, and that's it? to do it on purpose. Like my parents right now are starting a new company at 77 and 78 years old, like as if they thought that they would be doing that, but it's given them absolute purpose, and it came out of a challenging situation that they were in, and then turning it around to create something out of it, and it's given them that spark and purpose to do something. It doesn't have to be massive. This is a massive undertaking they're taking, but it's I mean, it's great. It's like finding out those things. I do a thing called the passion test. Really identify, because we don't sit down very often and just kind of go, am I really happy? Do I love what I'm doing? And the fact is about 80% of people do not live a passionate life, what they're passionate about. They kind of get stuck in the, going through the motions, the days and days like link into each other, and until sometimes there's some sort of wake up that goes, wait a minute, is that it? Or something's happened in our lives where we kind of go, is this really where I want it to be? The midlife crisis or the retirement phase of going, is this all there is? So to be able to take that time and go through a really quite cool process and sit back and go, when I was a kid or whatever, what were the things that I loved that I've just forgotten about that I love doing?
Yep.
And give you goosebumps, and then you lay that all out on the table and then kind of go through a process. It's a very cool process we go through, and then it helps identify the top 5. And then you can start attracting those things into your life that you're really, truly passionate about, that give you that constant spark. Because life goes by way too fast to not be doing what we love, or that gives us that juice to kind of feel like, okay, I'm on purpose. And it can change too. There's many chapters that we have. We can go through many chapters.
Yeah, for sure. The one of the things that always sort of comes up for me there is when, we often, like you said, you get stuck in you're doing your job or a specific business or a specific direction in your life. And what I've found is that people, including myself, we often get stuck at doing what we're really good at, right? We might have a skill and we, grab onto that skill and we go with it. But that's not really what we love to do. We just happen to be really good at it, or someone noticed right away that, geez, you're really good at this. We're going to stick you in this department and you can do that for the next 20 years. But, and people say, well, but I'm really good at it. That's what I should be doing. And so many people have told me I'm good at it and this is what I should do. So, well, maybe that's really not what's making you happy though.
Well, and you said one of the key words, like should, like should, not like I love this, I'm really good at it, and I love it, because that is like a perfect combination. Or I'm really good at it, but can I make a living out of it? And there's always a way to figure it out, like just being creative and resourceful, and but to be living in a should life is kind of, it's challenging, and we can be in that should life for a long period of time before we even realize that we are.
Yeah, for sure. So what makes you so passionate about what you're doing right now? And tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? I would call myself like a serial entrepreneur. I love working on projects, helping people take their vision of what they want to do and step into it and play a lot bigger, and help surround them with the resources that they need in order to do that. And a lot of it is that support system and mindset around it to go, really, can I do that? And get the systems in place in order to do it as well. So I love doing that. I love seeing people achieve things that they never thought they could. And the fact is that confidence comes from doing. Like I'll never forget. You have these landmark or these moments in time, and I remember before the first World Championships that I ever went to. Like I was telling you, I started swimming late, like 13, and then started going up the scale very quickly. My second year swimming, I ended up being on the senior B team, and it wasn't because I was good enough, it's because they needed another swimmer. I was like the worst one. And I just started improving, and coaches and judges were saying, oh, we didn't realize you had that much potential. And I'm like, well, neither did I. All it took was like 1 or 2 people to believe in me and then start to excel. And then I remember 84 was the first year that our sport was an Olympic sport. It wasn't even in my radar at that point in time. And I, had the opportunity to be one of 10 girls in the country, 5 pairs to try out. And I'm like, what's like huge to try out? That was a huge honor, and to be in that category. And then thought, what's the difference between trying out and actually going? And the shift of thinking around that. And I remember one practice before our very first World Championships after the 84 games. And we were training like 6 to 8 hours a day, and our coach has a mic we can hear above and below water, and I was working on a drill that was underwater, and you know, it came up, and she was one of these coaches, you know, she just had that look and you knew. She said to me, she said, how would you do it if you were already a world champion? And it just shifted my whole way of thinking. How would I do it if I was already a world champion?
Yeah.
And so that was one of those shifts that I love, helping people step into it. How would you do it if you already were? What
Yeah.
kind of support systems would you have around you? What kind of, you know, mindsets? And you have to train that. Like, it's not like, okay, I'm going to wake up one morning and be a marathon runner. Well, great in your mind, until your body starts trying to do that. And then your body and mind are going, wait a minute, I can't do this. And it's like, you know, how would you do it if you already were? Well, you would have a plan, and you would do it one step at a time to get there.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned, you know, when you reach that pinnacle or you reach that goal, how is there any more? And how do you, you know, what is there after that? Because after that significant year, we went to our first world championships in Indianapolis, and our main competition was identical twins who had been swimming together for 16 years. And it was Carolyn and I's first year swimming together. We had been training many years, but first year as a pair swimming together. And we were swimming in the Jays' hometown. And there was like 10,000 people at this World Championship. So, I mean, we didn't have a pool that had that kind of bleachers in Canada. And being in a judge sport, you want to be near your competitors, like swim near the end. We drew first and they drew last to swim. And I remember, you know, walking out into this huge pool area, and Carolyn and I started this little tradition. We would, you know, buzz each other's fingers so we'd be on the same wave, and then shake each other's hands out and go, okay, let's go out there and have fun. And it said Canada #1. And so we said, okay, that's going to have to be us. And so we had to really focus on, you know, it was our first year swimming together. No one knew what to expect of us. You know, the twins were identical, but that was their strength in a game where you don't know what to expect. And they're going to have to see the best ones first. And we're just going to go out there, and we've trained hard. And, you know, it was totally against all odds, but we ended up winning our first world championships. And it was like a major, you know, major deal. And you oh my God, you know, you're the best in the world. It's like, you know, how do you get better than the best in the world? And it's still 3 more years to the Olympics. Like, once you reach the top, it's actually in many ways harder to stay at the top. But then you have to look at, you know, what were our strengths that got us there? And then the Jays actually help push us to be better all the time, because it's easy to become complacent once you've reached something, to become complacent. And it's understanding that it's not the huge big things that make the difference, it's the little things over time. And so it was like, you know, working on what our strengths were, knowing what our weaknesses were, but working on our strengths. And then, you know, just that little bit every day that took us, you know, year after year to keep that, you know, close. I think we were ahead of the Jays every year until the year before Olympics, where they actually were ahead of us going into the Olympics. So it was like a real check into, you know, okay, what are we focusing on? Not what they're doing, but what we're doing and where our strengths are. So, yeah. So there is always ways to improve, and I want to put that out there, because it's very easy to also get stuck in, and in our sport, being synchronized swimming, in this world of perfectionism. I'm still a recovering perfectionist, so it's like we never, ever, ever, ever will feel like we're 100% ready for anything that we're doing. It's just a fact, you know, and it's just trusting and knowing at that time that you've done the work, and let go and just enjoy that process.
Yeah. And it's a sort of an interesting sort of sport when you're talking about, you know, perfectionism, because it's all about being perfect, having the perfect, you know, swim, and it's synchronized and everything is perfect. And it's, you know, so many of us get stuck on being perfect when really it's totally unnecessary. The level of perfection that we're trying to attain, you know, is just, you know, it's overkill. But yeah, something like synchronized swimming is like, okay, well, that's a necessity.
You know, it's like honing your skill to the best that you can, and then letting go, because it will never be perfect. And that's probably is one of the biggest lessons and things that I had to let go of, like still to be able to achieve. And that's why I sometimes, you know, when I talk about helping people attain their gold medal results, I preface it by saying, you know, and it's not about perfection. It's about digging in and finding way more than we thought we could do, and letting go of that perfection part, because somewhere I had sent you a message, and one of my favorite sayings that I have is, living like a champion is not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best that we can be, and the best that we can be together is even more.
Yes.
And enjoying that process. There's no way I would have trained that many hours a day if I couldn't find something fun about it, because, there were sure days. Don't get me wrong, believe me. When we do the routine through 3 times in a row with a weight belt around your waist, and it wasn't
fun. Not a good time.
But do the work so you can enjoy it, enjoy the process, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because that would be, tricky, because like I said, it was 6 to 8 hours a day in the pool, doing the routines, going through the process. Imagine some of it's outside of the pool too, otherwise you'd just be a total prune. But
it's funny, my fingers, if we ever had a day off, which was really rare, the next day my fingers would actually wrinkle, but we got immune to it.
Yeah, you're just permanently waterlogged or something.
Yeah. So, and sorry, I'll let you ask questions, because as you can tell, I can talk.
Well, and it's kind of the funny thing, because yes, I can talk, quite a bit myself, and so yeah, I happily sit back and just listen and let people, actually talk. Woohoo! You have the floor. I don't have to talk. I do want to talk about some of the new things that you're being involved in. You're throwing yourself into now. Tell us a bit about that. What you're up to these days.
Well, doing some coaching, and one of the there's a couple cool collaborations and projects that I'm working on, because I think achieving our gold medal results is about achieving the best we can be in a holistic way. So not just achieving high levels of business, and in the process you've lost your health and your well-being and your relationships, because done that, been there. After Olympics, I gained 40 pounds the first year after I was finished swimming, and because I just think I was lost, and I didn't take care of myself, and it was just one of these oh my God, stop, this is not okay. And I beat myself up a lot about that. So the health and well-being part is really important to me. I'm working with a company called Achieve True Health, where we have this awesome 21-day challenge, and it's very holistic about helping you supercharge yourself into a really great, healthy, well-being place. So that's one of the collaborations I'm working with. Another company I'm working with out of Australia has a financially fit program, which is probably one of the best that I've seen, and it's Financial Freedom Club, and it really helps us. I've always heard the terms, pay yourself first, pay yourself first. I'm like, yeah. No, it's really about paying your future self first, so that you can seriously, no matter what happens in the economy and the environment with what you're doing, you can put a plan together so that you will constantly have this reoccurring income and give you the freedom to truly do the things that you want to do. That's what true freedom is. So that's another component of it. So the health and well-being, the freedom part of it. And then, jumping into our businesses and helping, what does that look like? What are you really passionate about? What do you love? And like I mentioned a bit earlier, one of the companies, and I'm just, it's such a joy to work with my parents right now. Is for an example, my dad was a chiropractor. His whole world was helping people be healthy, strong, and vibrant. And he was diagnosed with a degenerative muscle disease about 20 years ago, and they said he would be in a wheelchair within 2 years, and he prolonged that process, and now he's in a wheelchair full-time with about 5% physical capacity the last couple of years. So it's been very difficult, and his mind is 110%. But through necessity, and my mom being primary caregiver and having caregivers come in to get him dressed and changed in the morning is an hour plus 2 hour process. And to be in sweats all day is not okay. She searched everywhere to find clothing that was decent, and it made him feel good, but didn't take all that time to get dressed. So out of necessity, she got a pair of scissors and adapted his clothes, and the caregivers are like, you need to do something with this. He looks awesome. It takes minutes to get dressed now. So all the OTs and everything, you need to do something with this. So here they are launching their company, Superfly, which is adaptive apparel for people with limited mobility. And they could be wallowing in this not great situation of my dad being like this or having this challenge, but now they're able to reach out and help so many other people to do it. And to change their lives and impact and have a quality, life and dignity, and their caregivers to make it a lot easier on their caregivers. And my mom has said a few times, oh my God, am I crazy to be doing this and at this age? And I go, hey, you know what? This is the great thing about what I do, is help surround with the resources that they need in order to do it, so that they can enjoy that process and bring all the pieces together. So that's another huge part of what I, and it just gives me joy to see them so excited about it. And it's not easy work starting a new company, but the inspiration of them doing it, it doesn't matter what age you're at. And so I love seeing that, and I have so many examples of that, when it's like, when something's bigger than us and we have a passion, there's always a way to do it. And so I'm actually creating, we've done some masterminds, and I'm just launching a new mastermind right now for, women entrepreneurs that are like totally committed to creating their gold level results and working together in small groups where we mastermind monthly and help give the support that they need from each other. Like when we get our heads together, there's so much more we can do. And then I'm bringing in some amazing guests that I've had the privilege of working with over the years from, I share many stories of some of the amazing people that I am blessed to be able to bring in as resources from, one of my girlfriends built a rock program, a co-founder of WestJet, who I'll share a little story about that and possibilities. But just all different areas of our lives, so that we have the resources of us, the amazing women in that group, and also to bring in the resources of other, where they get to spend that kind of time with somebody that they probably wouldn't have that opportunity to do. And then we do 2 big retreats a year together, so that we get to actually have that energy environment and keep each other accountable to what it is that they really want to do.
Yeah, and that's such a huge piece, like I said, the accountability, being able to help keep each other accountable. And that's because we've done planning, and our focus is we work on creating maps, right? So like you were talking about a lot earlier, saying, it's incremental changes, incremental steps that you need to make in order to actually attain your goal. And that's, the mapping process I would go through. That's what we do. We figure out what the goal is, what is your passion. We lay that out in an actual physical map, and we lay out all the individual steps that you need to take. And they're small. They're itty bitty little steps that, you need to take. And if you just keep taking those little steps, you will get there. But we found that even with the very best map, people still don't do it because they're dependent on themselves and their own motivation to do it. Some people will, if you have the drive and the get up to do it, but others need that accountability. And
unfortunate, it is a very small percent. Like there's a huge percent that really want to do it, but there's a small percent that actually do. And my goal is to shift that. And through that powerful, like when we have these small communities that we're creating, through a powerful accountability process that we have, because we all know this stuff. It's like, we know what we need to do, but doing it's a whole other thing. And so we make it really fun too. So that accountability part is a really fun element around it. And we can actually see measurable movement. And it's like, not only sharing the challenges that we're having through the process, because it is like this. We do have these ups and downs, and it's, it's not all pie in the sky. The reality is we have those challenges, and how we are equipped to have, the formula to help us specifically be able to do it, and our team to get out of those places, and then celebrate those accomplishments along the way, because it's nothing more powerful. The more committed we are, as far as putting our time and our money and our resources into it, the more likely we are to actually follow through and do it. So that's why, I'm super jazzed about our mastermind groups that we're forming right now, which it'll be, and I'll share that with you if anybody that's interested, because I have a gift for everyone that's on your call, and it's I think I sent you a link for that, Richard, but I have my top 10 mindsets, thoughts and quotes that were probably some of the most powerful things that I learned through my years of sport and attaining, and past sport too, going through the ups and downs, etc. And so that's a gift to everyone if they want to go on there, and it just shares a little bit, and you'll know I have shared a little bit in what we've had today. But if anyone is interested in our masterminds, it's going to be open up all over, and it will be intimate groups that we are together online working with me directly. And then we'll do 2 retreats within that year-long commitment. Because, you know, you can't kind of, when I talk about sink, swim, or float, you can't kind of just put your foot in your toe in the water. You have to more than put your big toe in. And so it's really looking for those entrepreneurs that are serious about wanting to actually do it. And it is a bit scary. You know, sink, I talk about, you know, that fear, that natural fear when something is new to us or it's stretching our comfort zone. And that's okay to have that. That's normal, you know. And it's not until we let go of the side of the pool and actually get in and let go that we start to then swim, which is the second part. And that's, you know, building that momentum and creating the resources and the mindset and everything around it to move forward instead of thrashing. I mean, how many of you can relate to getting in the pool and just thrashing, you're not moving anywhere? And it's like, can you just see what I'm doing? I don't know what I'm doing. And we can't see because there's water everywhere, you know, but someone else can see, okay, if you just do this or just relax there, or, you know, you need a little bit of this, then we can start create that momentum and move forward. And then the last part of it is, and really, really important part is the float part. And, you know, I've stopped saying now that time is going so fast because that is reality. But to be present and float, that's the enjoying the journey, because we can't sprint full out, and otherwise we crash. And so it's like, you know, enjoying that process, even through the challenging times. If we can take that time for ourselves, taking care of ourselves, floating. If you've ever floated.
Floated.
You know, in Calgary, we've got the Bow River, and every year we take our kids and we float down the river, and you just see the city from a whole different perspective. You have a chance to float. You can see and relax a bit. You see something that you didn't even know was right there in front of you, or a solution, or whatever it is. So that sink, swim, and float part is, you know, integrating that into our everyday. Like, when are we present? When do we have those moments that are around us, but we don't check in to see them? And then really the last part is the courage to actually jump in and make our splash, because it does take courage. And you don't have to get in the deep end, though. You can get in the shallow end and, you know, make your way there, but you have to get in. So that's my passion, goal, love, desire, to bring these amazing group of women together who want to make their splash and jump in and play. And splashes are messy. Like, it's not perfection. It's a bit messy, but it's fun. It's like, when's the last time you jumped in and did a cannonball? And, you know, it's to have fun in the process, because, like I say, life's way too short to not enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's, you know, one of the neat things about kids, I find, is that, you know, you tend to do crazy things, you know, because, you know, like you said, jumping and doing the cannonball thing. The last time I was out swimming with my son, who's just turned 4 yesterday, or 2 days ago now, I guess. Or sorry, just turned 5. Was 4, turned 5. And yeah, you know, the last time I was out swimming is like, okay, let's jump in, and doing the crazy cannonball things and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, I haven't done that in a couple decades.
To enjoy it. And it's like, oh my, that was really fun. And we get like, oh, well, we shouldn't do that. Jump in that little puddle on the way because I might get wet. You know, like, how many times, well, wouldn't that be fun? You know, we go back to being kids. I'll share a couple stories, because, you know, probably some of my biggest influences and inspiration have been my children, who now 3 are in university and have one in grade 8, and just amazing. My youngest one, she doesn't like to be left behind. I remember we were out on this ranch and forest area, and kids are running through all these ravines and stuff, and they were way ahead of us. And my husband and I get up there, and 3 of them have gone across this log, this tree that's dropped over this ravine, and it's steep. It's like quite a drop. And my little Grace is on this tree about to go across. It was everything for me to say, be careful. It was everything for me to not say that. And I knew that was my mother instinct wanting to do it, but that I knew if I said something, I would be the one to cause her fault. Meanwhile, she beetled across there with no problem at all. And so it's like, you know, when does that fear come in that stops, you know, inhibits us? Like, we're actually born with 2 fears, and the rest are learned. Loud noises and falling, and the rest are learned, you know. And so it's like, and then if I have a chance, I would love to share a little story of a gift of love.
Don't go ahead. We do have a little bit of time here, so.
Yeah, when I love talking about, you know, the face of possibilities, like, and I think when we are younger, and that's why I like getting back to where's that kid in us and the things that we love doing, and the boundaries that are not yet there. How many times will a child say, you know, they don't understand no, you know, but you know that they have this tenacity. But I remember a number of years ago, I was pregnant with our youngest one, and we were going through probably the most challenging time in our life. Like and maybe some of you can relate to this in one or two or three or four of these areas, but it was like seriously all at once. Our marriage was not in a good place. My husband's father was diagnosed with cancer. We moved out to hospice him. It was probably one of the best experiences we could have had, but it was also very challenging because challenges with his company and partners at home. His company got moved around. Long story short, we lost everything and started all over. It was a very humbling experience, brought us, you know, through a major challenging time in our life. And I remember just getting our heads above water and driving to school one day with the kids when I finally had enough money to get a second vehicle. And for me, having my kids involved in sport was really important, about them being in a positive environment. And it wasn't about podium, it's about all the other things that they get from sport. Mm-hmm. And had an angel friend who helped us be able to keep them in sport. So literally we had started all over and climbing back up, driving to school with the kids, and a fight broke out in the backseat of the car. Now, how many of you out there can relate to this? You touched me and he touched me, and they're like, oh, yeah, okay, let's change the atmosphere in here. I'm like, you know, let's plan a family trip. And one of the stories that I didn't tell you growing up, my mom worked for the airlines, and that was the only way we would have ever traveled with a family of 10 kids. And it would be, yep. Could you imagine? Like, you'd have a carry-on bag, and okay, this is where we're going to go. And then we'd split up into teams and have races to get there, where we're the first amazing race. And then she would have this envelope of money, and we'd stay at a hotel for like a night, and then she'd find these amazing places that we would have to stay in. Here's the money. And they're like, what happened? Yep. He's like, it was vacant. And anyway, we had the most amazing adventures. So I knew there was always a way. So I'm in the car with my kids, and I'm like, you know, where do you want to go? We haven't done any family trips or anything for ages. And I'm thinking they're going to want to say they want to go, well, they were 10, 8, 6, and 2. Where do you think
they want to go? 10, 8, 6, and 2. I don't know. Go to the zoo. What do you do in Calgary? Calgary's got a nice zoo. So.
Yeah, they do. Well, we were planning like a trip. And, so I thought they were going to say Disneyland. Well, they wanted to go to Mexico. They had been there years before. My birth dad lives in a little fishing village there. And they had made friends with the children that lived right behind where he was. They lived in like little shanties. They had like nothing. Like, you know, they had brought a ball and stuff for the kids. And they, you know, it's so neat when you watch children. Like, when you think about it, our language and our communication, 5% is our words. The rest is our body language and everything else. They made great friends with the kids down there. And so we're in the car, and they're like, Mom, can we go back to Mexico? And I'm like, oh, that's a neat idea. And they said, if we go, could we, you know, bring some more toys for the kids? And, you know, what if we got some of our friends to get some toys? And Mom, could you imagine if we all shared what we have, there wouldn't be anybody without? And I'm like, wow, you know, that's awesome. Like, this whole car ride totally changed. And then my oldest, who was 10, gets out of the car and she goes, Mom, we're going to need a plane. So we get home from school that night, and our house was we were still renting. Our house was in boxes, and Alyssa comes up and she has this little CD, and it was this little boy, Billy Gilman, who was on Oprah years ago, and he had this CD called One Voice. Some kids have and some kids don't, and some of us are running cry. Mom won't watch the news at night. There's too much making her cry. 1,000 words, a million prayers, one voice was heard. She goes, Mom, we can call it a gift of love. And I'm like, wow, like, you know, planted the seed, and now, like, how do you say, well, no, that's not realistic.
Yeah, forget that, kid.
Yeah, like, it's like, so, okay, we're going to find a way. And it just happened that we had friends that were in the airline industry, and phoned up one of my girlfriends had 4 kids, and I said, you know, this is the kid's idea. What do you think? And she said, well, Dawn, who was one of the founders, was coming back the next day and said, well, bring the kids in and let them present their idea. They presented their idea to 4 executives. Imagine, they're 10, 8, 6, 2. They played the CD, and they turned around and they go, you have a plane. And my mouth just went, it was amazing. It was like, seriously, miracle after miracle. We didn't know how we were making rent. And this amazing, pure thought of, if we just share what we have, there shouldn't be anybody without. And the phone was ringing, like, what's this about my daughter going to Mexico with your daughter? And I'm like, well, yeah, actually. And within 6 weeks, because we didn't know exactly when we had the plane, 6 weeks down the road, we had the plane for 36 hours. And we ended up having 70 children from 22 schools who collected loved pack. It was about what they could do. So it was loved toy and gently used shoes and school supplies. And then I had another friend who had 4 children as well, whose husband did a lot of work down in Mexico, a drilling company, and they wanted to get engaged. And so they had the women of the Army, of the Navy, of the Rotary, who identified all the orphanages and special needs schools that we went to. So we knew exactly how many boys and girls, and then these packages were all put together. And we literally, it was seriously, Richard, it was one miracle after another, because it was meant to be. And there was no, how are we going to do this? We're going to figure it out. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And to see these children, many of them had never been on the plane before. But when they met the kids there, it was more than the gift of love. It was about them actually caring or knowing that someone cared about them and knew, and they made these amazing connections. And it was just, to me, such a lesson of possibilities when we don't put those barriers on. Like, we are free to kind of fly and not protect what we think is possible or not possible. So that's, probably one of the greatest stories of, for me, eye-opening again through the eyes of a child, of what we can do, and without stopping,
Yeah.
and creating that support. And the support came in because their vision was so powerful and so strong.
Yeah. And that's something that is always, key, is if you can give other people that vision of what you're seeing in your vision, then they'll jump on board. Right. But once you can sort of instill them with that passion and that excitement that you're seeing in whatever it is that you're doing, then you will have that help, and the assistance will, like you said, the phone will start ringing, and the people will come out of the woodworks to help you to, drive your dream home. And yeah, and that's definitely, really, wonderful proof of that, exact thing happening. Other people getting excited about what that vision is and what it means and what the potential of it. And yeah, it's definitely, goes with your name, the inspiring possibilities. It's, it is just that you're inspired by the possibilities of what that could do.
And then creating those results, right?
Yeah.
Because it's great to have those possibilities, but until we actually step in and start doing the things and the little things over time that create that ripple effect to do things that we never thought we were capable of. That's our gold medal results.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the speed in which that happened.
Yeah. When something's meant to be. It's interesting. I was speaking at a national conference for the nonprofit associations, and I shared that story, and a woman came up to me, just stunning, this red suit and powerful woman, and she was just very teary-eyed, and she said, I'm not going to tell my kids what they can't do, just as far as, and that's kind of like that little kid within us too. It's like letting that out, letting that joy and playfulness and figuring out, you think about a child will figure out how to make what they want to do happen.
Yeah.
And a child will, remember, well, your son or daughter, that's 5?
My son. Yeah, my son is 5, and we have another one that's, what is he now? Just about 2 months old.
Oh my God. Okay, I get my baby. Like, mine are all gotten big.
Yeah.
But, it's like when he gets into kindergarten and grade 1 and grade 2, and the teacher asks a question, you're like, and I mean, they don't care what people think. It's like when does that change? When they're like, and they'll say whatever, and they have the best gems of what they share and say. It's just like unedited. It's real. It's genuine. It's like, so when does that change? I want to challenge everyone who's listening to kind of go, stir that part up, where that is, and that, kind of joyful play part of, hey, what if? What if?
Yeah, because if you can keep that alive, and carry that, because if you can carry that forward into your adult life, then wow, because so many of us, by the time we're done high school, that's long gone. You get into the working world, and it's like, I don't want to hear your what if possibilities kind of thing. Go to your job, whatever, do your 10 hours, and don't bother me.
And let me say that too. When you say that, I don't want to hear about it or do that. well, it's one thing to actually dream those or think those or play those, but then my challenge is to actually do them, like actually experience doing them, you
Yep.
know? And that's the big part, the whole phenomena of the movie, or the secret that came out, it was just this huge phenomena. And it was like, it was missing one huge part of it. You can't just sit there and wish for a car to land on your lap. Like, you've got to actually do something about it. So, and there's going to be people who, as my brother would call it, I remember one of my first boyfriends I went out with, he was like, Michelle, there are fountains and there are drains. But, think about that again, the water analogy. There are fountains and drains in our life. There are dream stealers, and there's ones that it's not their comfort zone. Right? So, it's just start taking those baby steps into those dreams again, and start pushing that comfort zone. And it's usually not anyone else's fault, but that's their protection mechanism. That's where their comfort zones are. And so they project that onto us. And so it's identifying, what are some of our, our fountains and our drains around us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes down, there's a I'm not sure if it's much of a wives' tale or if it's actual factual. If you have a bucket of crabs, or if you have one crab in the bucket, the crab will actually get out. But if you have, at least two or more crabs in the bucket, they won't, because they keep, one's getting out and the other one will reach up and actually pull them back in. And, and it's very much, that's how we live day in, day out. You try to get out of the bucket, get out of your little box that you're living in your whole life, and everybody around you will definitely pull you back in. And it is a real trick to surround yourself with people that will pull you up.
And that's why I love the mastermind and the group coaching stuff that I do, because it's not just me, but when you hear it from other people that are in that space of wanting to, more than wanting, they are actually moving out of that, drain or that bucket. To start, celebrating those accomplishments, because that's where our confidence actually comes. It's those little steps. Actually, I don't have it down here with me. It's upstairs somewhere, but I have something that I usually share when I do presentations about the importance of, celebrating our accomplishments. And I have this little wee trophy. It's about this big. It was for the most improved my first year of swimming, and it actually sits beside my gold medal. Well, my medal is in the Hall of Fame in Calgary now, but it did sit beside it because I would have never in a million years made it to that gold medal without that, little trophy of, oh, really, I can do this? And it's like, celebrating those accomplishments add up to the big ones.
Yeah. Like I said, it's that incremental, tiny little step that moves you towards the big dream.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So you've got the mastermind that you're rolling out. Now, the mastermind is something you've been doing for a while and you're just sort of expanding it out, or is this just another intake kind of a thing in new groups?
Yeah, expanding it out. So been doing locally, but I've had feedback, from all over. Oh, I'd love to be part of that. So because of our virtual world, which is amazing, we can do it via Zoom and be together. And then, but there is something really special about being together live too. So within that year commitment, then we have 2 amazing retreats. And if you actually go on my site, one of the retreats we go to is an outstanding place in the foothills there, Azure Ridge. It's just absolutely spectacular boutique hotel, and it's an amazing environment. It's inspiring walking into the place. And but so to be able to have that, community together, so we can do the online part and then have it together as well. So
that's brilliant. Yeah, we spend a lot of time focusing on just meeting people face to face, really connecting, and because so much is lost, because we don't get to see each other's face. And I feel bad you can't actually see my face today because
you're glowing. You're like going like this.
Wow.
I may see you because one of my daughters is playing volleyball out. She's going to Camosun in Victoria, so I am going to probably be that way.
Well, it's on the island anyway. It's still a couple hours away, but
well, it's a beautiful island to be on.
Yeah, it's not too hard to get used to being out here. It's pretty darn nice.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, and even a little thing like that, I grew up in northern Alberta, up in the frozen swampland, as I always lovingly call it. And yeah, as a kid, I never dreamed that there'd be places like this in Canada, let alone that I could actually live here. And I remember when I first came out here just to visit, uh, it felt like Hawaii to me, and it was because I'd never been anywhere. And when you're used to, well, frozen swampland, this is pretty darn close to paradise. And yeah, and it took me a while to get out here, but here I am, and been here for whatever 20 some years. So
fantastic. Yeah, it's gorgeous. When I take the ferry over there, I am like a little kid. I think I drive my kids crazy. So I'm like, oh, look at that, oh, look at that. Like I'm just like, I take it in. Like it's like just enjoying that art. It's spectacularly beautiful.
Yeah, and speaking of sort of that the joyful thing, and being really able to take advantage of fun and neat things is, and like I said, kids are fun for this. It was cherry season, this summer and stuff. There's a big cherry tree right beside the house, and my son's window looks out at the cherry tree, and it actually goes over top of part of our house that's a flat roof. And so we actually climbed out through his window onto the roof, and we're picking cherries off the top of the cherry tree. And it was like, and I was sort of standing there, thinking about what I was actually doing, and it was just like, this is so cool. Like I just could not imagine being, kid myself back in northern Alberta, standing on a roof picking cherries of all the crazy things. Yeah, and especially to have my father doing that with me would be just totally insane, because he would never have done anything like that. But it was just such a neat thing that it's just like, I can I can think of the memory that'll be in his head. Thinking back, saying like, I was out walking around on the roof picking cherries out my window. It's like, just such a cool memory and a cool kind of a thing to sort of take with you. And and it's just kind of a goofy little thing, but it's those little things that inspire you to kind of neat things. And if you can kind of keep filling your life with just cool experiences and really just interesting stuff. And I think that's why traveling is so great, because it's just, you're constantly seeing things that are pulling you out of your normal stuff that you don't do every single day. And I think the more of those kind of experiences, and even, becoming and participating in something like a mastermind, you're experiencing something that you don't normally get to do. You don't normally get to hang out with a group of people and share your passions and have them bash around ideas and throw ideas back at you and go, yeah, that's brilliant. You should do this or run with that, or, yeah, those kind of things are fantastic.
And then help hold you to it. So there's this place where it's like, when we fall down or have those challenges, you're so connected with each other, being on the same page and understanding what you want to do, that you get through it a lot faster.
Yeah.
Moving through it a lot faster.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end of the show here, but I want to ask you, because something that I always ask is, what advice would you give to a brand new entrepreneur who's just going out there, just getting started? Because like you said, and like myself as well, are serial entrepreneurs and done I don't know how many businesses. But what would you give as that first piece of advice?
I think the very first piece, and you said it a bit earlier, is like, share your vision with someone or a group or a support system or a mastermind or whatever it is that can support you in moving forward. As soon as you actually share your vision and start taking those steps, just those little steps every day, because there's going to be times where it's like, oh, you're going to come up against little walls or challenges, and it's just keep moving through those steps. And I have it here, but when you say the one, because there's so many, and I'm going to probably do a video piece around this so I can share more, but that's my inspiring gold medal results, my top 10 inspirational quotes and thoughts that really resonated the most in me in those years and now. But if I had to pick one, it would just be get in. Start taking those steps and get that support system around you to do it. Because you can, you absolutely can.
Oh, that's great. It was funny, actually. I was listening earlier. You were talking about getting in and sinking and or swimming, and I really can't swim. I can't even do a dead man's float. I sink. There's a couple of us in our family like that. We just sink. We're made out of rock or something.
Red Cross used to send all those swimmers to me because I know I could understand.
But I was kind of thinking when I came out to the coast, I bought myself a set of goggles and snorkel and flippers, and I could suddenly swim because I didn't have to actually float. I didn't have to work at it. I had flippers. I could actually really enjoy water for the first time in my life.
Oh.
And until of course I got swamped by a big giant wave or whatever, because of course it's an ocean.
You got to know how to get the water out of the
Yeah. But so other than nearly drowning my first time doing it, it was good. But it was it's sort of adding to where you're going with the swim. Don't be afraid to use tools and get help. And you don't have to do it just all by yourself when you're swimming trunks or whatever. You can add things to it, and there are ways of making it happen that even if you didn't think, well, I can't swim, and I went through whatever 20 some years of I can't swim, I sink like a rock, I cannot swim, and suddenly I can swim. Yeah. And just by using the right tool or the right, having the right methodology or the right person say, hey, why not get some snorkels and things, suddenly my life is transformed.
Very cool. Oh, I love that analogy. And very cool. And when you get those goggles on, it's amazing that you can see under that whole water world how amazing it is.
Yeah. Put your goggles on and change your perspective. There you go. So what do we all got? So we've got a gift from you, your Inspire Gold Medal results, top 10 inspirational quotes and thoughts, and we're gonna, I believe, post that on our website with the replay of this, or we'll have a link going back to your website where they can sign up and grab it from there. I think that's what we're doing. I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, if they go on a link, I think I shared the link with you, so we'll figure out how they get that link, and you just literally can go on, and then it can take you also back to my site if you want to reach me about our mastermind or coaching. Feel free to do that too.
Perfect. And that's the MichelleCameronCoulter.com website. They can track you down.
I'm trying to get MC squared for short.
Do you own that too, or you got to buy that domain? Good luck.
Along Michelle Cameron Coulter, I said, or MC squared for short.
Yeah. Yeah, just thinking, well, good luck buying that domain now.
Good.
And what else? So they can go back if they have interested in the mastermind or what you're doing there. Go back to the website and find out more about you there. Get a hold of you, phone you at 3 o'clock in the morning, and
on the email.
Phone calls are so much more fun, though. It's
maybe not for my whole household. And
yeah,
we'll wake up the little pig in here. We actually, talking about at the beginning, have a little teacup pig that my coach, she really wanted. Worked a year and a half to save up $1,500
for a pig. And it's not even a big enough pig to eat.
Her nickname is BB Bacon Bits.
Yeah.
There's a whole great story around that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. All right. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that we sort of left out here that we wanted to touch base on. Mastermind, your book. When is now, is the book actually coming out?
Yeah, looking for early in the new year. I've been working on it for a while now. It's like, okay, let's go, baby, get this one out, because it's really, 25 years of pre and through sport, and then 25 years post sport, and the life lessons and experiences through there of, how do you relate that into, the ups and downs of sink swimming and floating, and and really delving a little bit more into some of the life and lessons that I want to share. Letting go of some of that, not it being perfect, but letting it go to be there in the new year will be.
Yeah, and actually, one of the fun things, we've got a couple books that we're writing and hoping to get published in the next little while too. But is to actually publish them online, right? Get them out there, get some feedback, and then you can make alterations because it's still just online before you actually get it printed in. And it's actually, I just love, modern technology things with
it's amazing. It's pretty amazing what we can do.
Yeah. I wrote a book. I got to make some edits. I got to make some tweaks, right? Because there's always something you wish you would have put in there. You know, you get some
Well,
feedback like, "Oh, I missed that."
you can do more additions. That's the other
Yeah.
thing, or add
Yes.
chapters in there.
Edition number 16. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you again for being on the show. It's been fantastic having you here.
Oh, well, thank you, Richard. It's been a joy to be here and hopefully see you out on the island and hopefully have a chance to meet some of you that are here listening today.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and I hope to actually come and join in on some of your masterminds, the online ones, and because that sounds like a lot of fun. Though, is it open to guys like on the online kind of thing?
Well, I've had a few requests, and that's where I was having. I work a lot with women entrepreneurs,
Yep.
but a lot of women entrepreneurs hire me. But there's also been a request, so I may look at doing a mixed group because I love, I don't like to put boundaries, so it's like. I may definitely look at doing that as well. So let me get a bunch together. I will for sure do that.
We have to gather in groups. That's...
Yeah. Yes.
Because something. It's always funny. There's so many women's groups and women's organizations, and I applaud that. I think it's great. But I'm like, wow, they're like way better than a lot of the men's things out there. I'm like, I want to join that. Oh, what's this lack of breast thing? I don't know.
No, I mean, you have a really good point. Not necessarily lack of breasting. But no, it's very true. And there was a young man speaking at a conference I was speaking at just a little bit ago, and the era of the remarkable man. And in this era of so many women that are really stepping into playing a bigger game, and how that all fits in to be able to, it's not about better or this or that. It's about, definitely being able to do it together too.
Yeah.
And you know what? For every mastermind group, we really look at the dynamics of the people that are in that group. That that not all necessarily the same, but bring different strengths. So it actually really builds the dynamics of that group hugely by the variance. And the biggest thing is the level of commitment needs to be the same for everyone, and the structure that we have around it, so it's a structure for success, and that everyone is literally committed 100%. That's what makes the power of our masterminds work.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about who's in the group kind of thing. And yeah, no, that's awesome. Alrighty, so we should probably get going here and let you get back to your life and back to the pig and everything else.
My youngest one, we timed it perfect because it's going to start getting loud in my house.
Yeah. All right. So thanks again, and we will be in touch. We'll see you again somewhere, somehow.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Richard.
All right. Well, thank you.
And all the best to each and every one of you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Great. Take care.
So that was, of course, Michelle Cameron Coulter, and you can, again, hunt her down on her website, www.michellecameroncoulter, and Coulter is COULTER.com. And yeah, check out what she's doing with the masterminds, and do click on there to keep in touch. And yes, and check out her Inspire Gold Medal Results Top 10 Inspirational Quotes and Thoughts, which I will have the link up on our website where you can go there and download that. And what else do I want to tell you today? We, of course, will be back in a couple weeks. We'll be back here October 8th. And we'll be back with another fantastic, lovely guest to chat with. And you can catch us on the 2nd or the 4th Thursday of every single month at 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We'll be here hanging out, chatting, trying to figure out how you can achieve your big, fantastic, awe-inspiring dreams. And what else did I want to tell you? There was some other little piece, I'm sure, that was very important. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you might want to go back to our website. If you're catching this on YouTube or something of that nature, our website is www.dreambigsolutions.com. And you can go and check out what we do there. You can check into some of the past archives of other radio shows and podcasts that we have on there. You can see what else we do to help inspire and lead people towards their big, fantastic dreams. And that's about it. We're going to wrap up. And thank you very much for joining us. We will see you in a couple weeks. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.